Welcome to the Blue Dot, Northern Kentucky's premier political podcast, brought to you by the Kenton County Democratic Executive Committee. Welcome back to the Blue Dot podcast for our weekly roundup, where we are here to bring you all the news you need to know in 10 minutes or less. Thank you for joining. I'm Natalie MacDonald.
And I'm Brian Koehl. 2026 is here, and it's going to be a big year, especially right here in Kentucky.
That's right, Brian. It was a big week in Kentucky. On Tuesday, the General Assembly began its 60-day legislative session. And this is where the Kentucky House and Senate come together to make laws and set budgets, which is both exciting and very important, as the decisions made during the 2026 regular session will have a direct impact on Kentuckians all across the Commonwealth.
Yeah, this is so incredibly important. And so much of what happens in the Assembly goes missed by the general public. But we are here to make sure that doesn't happen. We're going to be here throughout the entire session to make sure you are aware of legislation that is in progress. We'll also be posting links to helpful legislative resources so you can stay informed.
Yeah, not only is it important to know about the current legislation, but it's also vitally important to know about the proposed bills that Democrats put forward that the Republican supermajority won't allow see the light of day. Democrats have historically been proposing legislation that will provide real help to Kentuckians. And although the Republicans will try to bury these bills again, we'll be here to resurrect them. Right, Brian?
Yes, we are the resurrection party. So and I just wanted to highlight a couple of those bills, Natalie, that have already been filed. So we'll want to keep an eye on these. HB 15 to enshrine Medicaid expansion in the state constitution. HB 22 and 23 will reverse some of the restrictions on abortion. HB 31 limits rental home investment by single owner to 50 units. I love that one.
Yep.
SB 14, institute paid maternity leave for state employees. And SB 16 to, increase the minimum wage proposed to $15 an hour.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. And as we see these positive bills filed, we need to remind ourselves that although we do not have a lot of power in the state legislature, we do have our voice, and we can call our legislators. We can make ourselves and our priorities visible. And this is the year that we will gain seats in Kentucky in the House and the Senate. So we can start implementing legislation that addresses the kitchen table topics so many of us are talking about, rather than simply placating to the Trump first agenda.
Yeah, this is true. And did you see Governor Beshear's 7th State of the Commonwealth address on Wednesday?
I did. It was also his last budget address. And I mean, at least for the state of Kentucky. And he even said that this is the last one.
I like the way he said that. That was good. And there were so many great things that he highlighted, actually way too many to review here. But I think the biggest takeaway was that he spoke a lot about restoring faith in the American dream, which is interesting, as when we had our candidate interview with Logan Forsythe this week, he spoke specifically the need to focus on the issues that support the American dream.
Yeah, that really stuck out to me when I was watching the address. And he also spoke about the diversity of our state and how we came together to overcome natural disasters and make big gains in so many communities across the state. He also highlighted the $35 billion in private sector investments which were made. And this marks the largest investment amount under any Kentucky governor. He also announced that we had over 59,000 new good full-time jobs, and that Kentucky broke an all-time record for exports. And we celebrated the 2 best years of tourism. So come to Kentucky, drink our bourbon. And you can also take advantage of the state's low cost of living, which is 11% under the national average.
Yeah, exactly. He also touched a lot on healthcare and education, where he confirmed that we have fully funded Medicaid despite looming federal cuts, and created $125 million for rural hospitals to prevent closures, and emphasized the push for pre-K for all, which we spoke about earlier this year with Lieutenant Governor Coleman.
We sure did. And I think this is the year for that. And it's super exciting. And then he pivoted to the proposed budget, which proved to be a real representation of our values, focusing on education, jobs, healthcare, public safety, and infrastructure.
All the things we love.
Absolutely.
And In order to make that happen, we're going to need to get some good people elected to the general legislature to make sure we can help turn these ideas into reality. And Friday, January 9th, is the last day for candidates to file for run for office. And the good news is we have a lot of great people stepping up across the state to run for these open slots.
Yeah, and I just checked the Secretary of State website to see who has made it official. And since we have one more day from this recording for those to get their paperwork in, we'll wait to review the candidates until next week. But it is safe to say that Democrats are going to win back seats in 2026 for sure.
You are a true nerd hanging out on the Secretary of State website.
Should go take a peek in there. It's interesting.
It's great. And, we're going to need all those candidates. We're going to need it for leverage. Because while we saw a lot of progress over the last year, there are a lot of roadblocks ahead of us as well.
There are roadblocks, and I think we're going to be seeing more and more things nationally that trickle down here into Kentucky, and that's why the governor is focusing on getting some of those state funds over to rural hospitals to be able to mitigate some of those issues. But if we work together, we can accomplish great things. And I kind of want to conclude the roundup today by highlighting the governor's plea for unity, which was a hallmark of his address from the beginning to the end. It seems every day we see violence and chaos on our streets, as we did this week with the ICE-involved shooting of Renee Nicole Good in Minneapolis, which is just tragic beyond words. So I'll leave you with some words of wisdom from Governor Beshear's State of the Commonwealth address recorded this week. Peace out, everybody.
We always come together in times of need. And that's what makes me so proud to be a Kentuckian. In Kentucky, we've turned down the temperature. We've worked together because our people deserve a government that unites instead of divides, that works for the good of all of us instead of creating an us versus a them. If you walk into the construction project that is our state capitol, you'll find a statue of Abraham Lincoln. His Gettysburg Address is on a plaque on the wall. Another reminder that our democracy is indeed fragile. President Lincoln said to his countrymen, "We are not enemies, but friends. Though passion may have strained it, it must not break the bonds of our affection." Social media lifts up the angry and the judgmental. We must amplify kindness, acceptance, and empathy. This polarized moment in our history, it won't last forever. And like Lincoln all those years ago, Kentucky can lead the way out of the darkness and into the light. It's our job, it's our duty, and we cannot leave a broken country. So as we repair our state capitol, let us also repair ourselves, our communities, and our countries. Remember, your neighbor's not the enemy from within. She's just your neighbor, trying to do her best in this difficult world. This moment in our history today is going to determine how future Kentuckians view us. Did we favor division or inclusion? This is the moment we've been entrusted to navigate. So let's stay focused and deliver a 2026 filled with prosperity and promise. Thank you. God bless the Commonwealth of Kentucky. God bless the United States of America, and good night.